I love printing. I love printing. I love it. I f***ing love printing. Welcome you back to another session with me, Warren Werbitt, otherwise known as the Print Whisperer, written everywhere. Check out the website when you get a chance, and do check out the merch section. You can get yourself a fine quality sweatshirt like this, and I make $8 on every sweatshirt. So please do. Today we have another guest. Yes, you're waiting for me to say distinguished because all my guests are distinguished. We have Paul Hudson from Hudson Printing. Welcome.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming. Before I get into the questions that I'm going to have for you, you want to give us a couple minutes on Hudson Printing?
Sure. Yeah. Hudson, we're a really old company, Salt Lake City, Utah. We've been here not as Hudson, but as a company for 110 years, something like that. Hudson for 50 years now. And the most recent version of it is since 2012, when I bought my brother's half of the business and kind of started on this endeavor of adding a digital component to our web offset business. So we're commercial printers serving the western part of the US for the most part.
Wow, cool. So you brought your brother out in 2012.
Yeah, he didn't want anything to do with like new investment, digital technologies, how do we connect the world's digital environment to our presses. He wasn't as enthused about those conversations I kept bringing up as
he had thin blood, thin ink in his blood.
Yeah. However, every time I see him now, he's the one wearing a smile and I'm the one with the stress face. So I think it worked out for him.
Yeah, I think if you're in print long enough, it's as if you got a facelift. You just can't move your face or anything. It hurts, right? After a little while.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, everything I've read about the company looks great. And, to be in business for that long says something in itself. So that's pretty cool. I see you have Mr. Benny behind you on the shelf.
Oh, yeah.
Along with some family pictures. Always nice to see.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you, because been in the news all this time, and you already know what I'm going to say. Tell me about the Landa press. How good is it?
It's extraordinary. We're actually really excited about it. We've been running it since November now, in production since November. We had kind of originally hoped for it to be sooner than that, but just, getting it all together and then, shipping and everything else. So it was sort of like just in the nick of time to help.
Never mind the pandemic.
Well, no, that's what I mean. Yeah. I mean, shipping delays and everything else. And of course, everybody was unsure about everything during that period of time. So there were a few delays. But anyway, we've been productive. We've been really excited about the press. We're producing incredibly beautiful print for real, and we're productive. So
what are you producing on it?
When I set out to ROI this press and decide what we were going to do. First of all, you have to understand one thing, which is we don't have sheet fed offset at this point. We have web offset, and so we do a lot of blue and staples, a lot of magazines, catalogs, all that kind of work. And then we have a growing digital business that had some really long run variable data work, mostly direct mail. And so I looked at moving these really long run direct mail runs over to the Landa press, as well as some of our very short web offset runs, which were really short. Like I analyzed 4 months worth of data, and I found that 20% of the jobs only ran like 1,800 copies on a web press. So we were really good at that. But a great opportunity to take some of that static work and also move it to that press. So
I think it was only a matter of time with the web offsets.
Yeah.
I mean, over the last 10 years, the jobs have been getting smaller and smaller. Shorter. I remember in my last few years on offset fighting the web offset because they were coming into the short run areas.
Exactly. Yeah. We were putting with runs like that. Yeah, for sure. We were putting a lot of pressure on the sheet fed printers, undoubtedly, which, I think they felt like, hey, stay in your own space. But, we could make it work. We were quick and didn't have high waste and still.
That's good. So I get waste on the press is less than a regular job if you were going offset.
Speaking of the Landa.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, there are some waste sheets in terms of like blanket cleaners, and you run some calibration sheets and such. But yes, for sure.
Is the Landa roll to sheet or sheet?
It's sheets. Yeah, sheet to sheet.
They don't make, do they make it roll to sheet?
There's one in development that is a you know, a web press, but yeah, I haven't seen that yet. I don't know
Yeah,
about it.
I think it would just make sense. And
Sure.
so on the Landa, you have a lot of consumables. First of all, I just want to say Benny Landa, I think the guy's a genius. I remember seeing him the first time at my first Drupa in '96 with the indigo and the printed cans and everything. And we had some indigos in our label business. And you know, anyone could say what they want about him, but the guy is a genius. And he does love his consumables. And I guess I'm jealous of him. But when it comes to the consumables and running, the costs of them?
For us, the model works really well. Actually, the you know, the consumable model is very attractive to us, I guess I will say, is maybe the appropriate way to say that. There certainly are consumables. You know, most importantly, there's a really big blanket. You know, there's a lot about this press that Landa didn't invent, right? I mean, it's a Komori press, it's a Fuji Samba heads, it's, you know, the coder, you know, they buy from somebody else, you know, all of it, you know, it's an EFI front end, right? I mean, they didn't reinvent everything, but what is new and what's truly unique about this is the nano ink itself, which, you know, we can talk about, but then also, and I don't think this gets enough conversation, is this dry transfer. So again, you know, the inkjet head spray onto this conditioned blanket, which you know, so you assemble the entire image and then it drives out the moisture almost completely before it transfers to the paper, and that has some incredible benefits. You know, I mean, there is no dot gain, so we're especially on uncoated paper, some of the things that we're printing are incredible, just absolutely incredible images.
Yeah, I always liked UV printing on offset paper for that reason of no dot gain, right? With the dryers in the heads. Does the paper have to be treated before you run?
Yeah, in fact, the only paper we have had trouble, there's only one paper we have not been able to run, and we haven't gone to, you know, huge expanse. We haven't actually tried non-paper substrates either, although we know people who are successfully doing it, but we haven't. So no, it doesn't require treatment. The only paper we've had trouble treating or printing was paper that was treated.
Really, eh?
Yeah.
Wow. What's the you know, I'm thinking of my UV press that I had, it was conventional. What's the energy cost when running that machine?
You know, I don't actually have a number for you, but I will tell you, yeah, there's some energy. It's a you know, there's a lot of air, and there is some energy required, again, because it driving out that moisture. Right. So there's heat required, and there's, you know, drying required. So yeah, it's somewhat intensive. Yeah.
Are you running that around the clock?
We're running, it depends on the day. For the most part, we're running two full shifts, or even two extended shifts sometimes. We have plans for that as well, but we're running generally from 6 a.m. until, you know, midnight, 2 a.m. kind of thing.
And what's the maintenance issue on the press? How much maintenance do you have to do? Not the issue. I'm not saying there's issues.
It's important. Yeah, it's non-zero for sure. And we're sticklers about it. You know, the person that's running the press for us is somebody who started up every web press for us for, you know, several decades. Absolutely stickler for the maintenance programs. So we've been very, very consistent in that. And yeah, there's some time in the morning, and there's some time at night, and again, you know, it's inkjet, so you have to purge heads. You do have to kind of run cleaning sheets and the kind of things you would find with other inkjet. And then there are, you know, more significant maintenance events where you're, you know, there's like, of course, housing for the inkjet head, so those need to be cleaned from time to time, and filters, and so yeah, it's not negligible for sure. The maintenance is important, but we're not finding it burdensome, but it also gives us a reason to want to run longer hours, right? So, you know, if you can amortize that morning time and evening time, you know, and run longer hours, obviously that just is a benefit. And as you know, inkjet likes to run, right? Those heads want to run.
Any machine wants to run. Once you turn it on, my fishing boat, you get better use mileage out of the tank. I mean, you know, than you do when sitting there.
Yeah,
it's like anything else. So it's pretty good. So
so
I mean, we used to do maintenance first shift every Monday on our presses and our full everything. I mean, the money that we spend in this industry, I'm actually surprised that more people aren't more diligent in the maintenance. because that's where that could make or break you and your equipment.
It's critical. Yeah, because you need it to, especially again, if you have a single device, right? You need to in order to sell confidently, you have to have a sense for your uptime. And the only way to do that is to have trained operators and run, your maintenance as it should, or pretty close to it, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Within a window.
Yeah. Oh no, you always got to be on it. So I was reading everywhere, saw that you guys had purchased a second press.
We have.
Now,
yeah.
you didn't buy that for parts, did you? As in the old Indigo days, the second machine was parts.
Sure. No, we talked about that. No, we did not buy that for parts.
Good.
Although, but it is important to understand redundancy is important. I don't care what the device is. I don't care what.
Agreed.
Absolutely, redundancy is important, and again, it gives you the ability to schedule confidently, right, to the capacity of whatever that machine is, right? If you do have some sort of redundancy, I'm obviously finding that in the paper market right now too. It's not always the machine that you need redundancy for. Often it's like, hey, this paper I was expecting I can't get, now I have to go to some other method in order to meet my customer's demand. So yeah, redundancy is important, but no, it's a demand-driven decision. I think I started to mention kind of the ROI that I put together before deciding to make this investment, and we could make it positive for the business without any new sales whatsoever and have significant excess capacity.
Wow.
Just by, again, we don't have sheet fed offset, so moving some of those static jobs off of our short run jobs off of our web offset, and then moving the long run variable data jobs over to the Landa, which again, it just eats up. And that's exactly what's happened. That's exactly how we've been running it. And we have been successful in attracting more of that kind of work, and additional work to sort of backfill the work on the other equipment that we've moved it from. So again, the long run variable data jobs are not running currently on our Indigos, but our clicks aren't even down, which is kind of frustrating to me, right? Because except it's not, because what it's meant is that those customers are growing.
If your clicks aren't down and everything's running, you're making money, so it's fine.
It means what happens is those customers,
as long as you're charging enough to the customer, that's another discussion.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's exactly right. So that plan has definitely happened. But we've also attracted other work, that I'm definitely in a situation where I'm finding myself with way more opportunities crossing my desk than I have time or attention or resource to take advantage of. And I think that's true with a lot of people, just because so many long-term relationships have been broken in recent months. But Landa specific, we're definitely having new relationships to do work that we wouldn't have done otherwise.
Oh, for sure. Well, first of all, I believe it is a different time in this industry right now. I think it's a different time in a lot of industries. Yeah. Even the car industry. A friend of mine's son just picked up a new BMW, and there's no wireless charger in the car. Why? Because they had to decide where they were going to use their chips, because they were limited on the chips. So he's got a 400 horsepower car with a few things. And I think Audi, the A3, the A5, there's no sensors in the bumpers for backup because they didn't have chips and had to use it elsewhere. Right. Incredible. So when I get back, when I think of our industry, first of all, I have to say this because I'm saying it all the time now. As a print company, I hope you're not negotiating your price down. I hope you figured out your true cost, and I hope you're charging so that you make the right margin that you can continue to invest in your business. Because in the past, we all know that it was a race to the bottom line. There is no reason to race to the bottom line. Okay, your customers cannot go to another printer for another job because that printer doesn't want to give paper to the new customer. They want to feed the old. So just be secure and be confident in what you're doing. And please don't rip the customer off, but charge them what's fair, right? It's
completely agree. So here's my question to you then is do you see this as a window of time? And then things, stabilize and kind of go back to the way they were, in a year, in a few months, in a couple of years? Or do you think that the industry has changed enough and we've all learned enough to sort of not go back to where things were? Because you're right, it was painful. It's a red ocean for sure.
So first of all, on my show, I asked the questions.
No,
I'm just kidding. So,
I didn't get that document that specified that.
Actually, I don't think I sent you the document beforehand. No, that's a really good question. So I see it this way. I think it's a great time for the profit leaders in our industry that have always looked at it a certain way, because now they are even hunkering down to do it better. I think there's a lot of print companies that have learned something in the last 2 years. I think there's always going to be that C grade or bottom feeder within, but I hope there's going to be less. And if we can get a few of the older legacy people to leave the industry, just for change of mind, to start over, and we could adopt some new ways of, we just got to adopt the right way of thinking, like every other industry, to be profitable. It is our turn, and it could be more than just the window. But if print companies let the inner workings and the big companies like that middle the print, right, and then negotiate, then we're going to be in trouble, because we need to keep the margin in our business, not going out and not letting the middleman make it. I say it all the time. My lawyer makes X amount, $700 an hour, sits at the same wooden desk for 20 years. I had an offset press, 40-inch, where I have to charge $350 an hour. The two pressmen together were earning, I don't know, $65 an hour combined, plus fringe benefits extra. Right. Then there's the rags, and then there's all the other stuff. So how come a lawyer keeps getting his money and we have to spend $4 million and pay two people, and we can't get $400 an hour for stuff that's going to be used to help a customer sell their product and make their full double key markup? So the system was a little broken. I'm hoping we take it back now. I hope with more people, I hope the manufacturers find a way to help the printer, maybe not the yous and the me's, because we get it, but all the others, to better think about how they're going to cost, what the cost of the equipment is in the short term and the long term.
Yeah, right? Exactly right.
Too many people.
And I think it's,
sorry, I was going to say, too many people look at the cost of the click and forget that they have a guy standing there, or a girl, or whatever. Then they have the power and the air conditioning, and then the consumables that are part of the job and ones that are not part of the job. So my goal is to try to talk to as many printers as possible, if need be, smack them upside the head and say, we are allowed to make money.
I've spent a lot of time in recent months doing exactly that, creating new visuals and new data models for our costing. I'm spending a huge amount of time doing exactly that. And I think we're often so busy solving problems every day, sometimes it's hard to sit down and do that thing, right? So for me, that's been very enlightening and really important to do. And we have, obviously, we've had to, raise prices.
It's the most important thing in our business.
Yeah. Well, but it's also, I think for some reason, I think we've not always known that we're important, right? We've not always known that what we do matters.
I've known I'm always important.
I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that. I'm talking, more generally, excluding you in that case.
Right.
But we did an open house recently, and I worried about everything, right? But one of my worries was maybe nobody will care, maybe nobody will come. And in the end, it was so cool. I loved it. There were so many people, and everybody was excited, and everybody was happy, and it was cool and it was mostly all customers. Like, it wasn't, there were a few industry people, whatever, but it was mostly all customers. And then, kind of writing a newsletter to my people afterwards, I said, what we do is important, and it matters to a lot of people. And sometimes I think we forget that, but it really does.
Oh, it's, I remember when we went, when I put in that 56-inch press and we had people over, everybody was in awe, because most people see a piece of paper blank and have no idea what's involved, when out comes, I can't pick anything up, but when out comes a printed box with a package and embellishments on them and everything. It's a process. I used to want to bring customers in and walk them through the line just so they could understand. And then they go, oh, I didn't know you have to do that. I didn't know it's that. Oh, you got to run it through 3 machines. Oh, okay. Well, now I know I can't have it in 2 days.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, we have to educate them. But I've been saying from the day I started, we are the most important industry in the world. Without us, there's no pharmaceuticals being sold. There's no how to make the lasagna in the freezer.
Right.
There's no sizes on clothes. There's no directions. There's no
Yeah.
safety. So I don't know, whoever took it upon themselves to start to run us into the ground, you know, because it was always a race to the bottom line.
Yeah.
There's no reason for that anymore.
Yeah.
Right. It's
I think that's true. I think we're gaining a little bit of respect for ourselves and the place and the importance we have just in the business community, not just the business and nonprofits and individuals. And yeah, what we do does a lot of good in the world, I think. I take a lot of pleasure from that.
And the other thing I realized recently is, you know, there's a lot of big money equity firms out there buying up a lot of printing companies.
Yeah.
And putting them together. So for the smaller independents or the me's and the you's, if we didn't think about it before, you have to ask yourself, why are they so interested?
Right.
Like, we sit and complain, but what do they see and what do their analysts see? And what's the real cash flow if you're doing it right? Because they only want to make their money.
Right. How would they do it differently if they came in and ran this business, right? And those are the changes you ought to be making.
Right. So I'm looking everywhere at what everyone's doing and just trying to say, wow. And anytime I speak to someone, if I can give them a little insight, I can't tell people what to do, and people will do what they want, but you kind of, you know, not everyone runs out to look for ideas, right? Even the shows coming up, I tell every printer, I go to every show, and I've always gone to every show, not to buy equipment. I've never bought a piece of equipment at a show in my life. I go because I want to be represented in the industry by me. I want to be counted as a statistic when they count the people that are coming to the show, because if it's down because people are home, then all of a sudden our industry is in trouble.
Right.
We're not in trouble, right? I want to go for the relations. I want to go because every time I meet somebody, I don't know what I'm going to learn. And if I go home with one or two ideas only, because my brain can't handle, my brain can't handle more than one or two at a time. If I go home with one or two, then I'm ahead. The other thing I want to add is, when people are going to shows, please bring some younger people from your building. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, you're right about that. It
Sorry.
was incredible. So I mean, it's recently at D-Scoop, and it was just so incredible, especially having had just this period of time where we couldn't get together, right? And I really didn't know how much I missed that whole thing.
Oh my God, I knew. No, because I live alone. It was brutal.
Well, you're a social guy. I'm an introvert, right? I mean,
no, but I live alone. Like, there's no one even in the house to give me grief. So
yeah. It was incredible. Yeah. So so inspiring, not only to just, you know, meet and talk to friends and peers again, but also to just sit and, you know, kind of like be just hear somebody inspiring speak, you know. Love that.
Oh my God. It's and I say to the owners, like to the elders, I like to call them elders or legacy people, or
since you're older than I am, that doesn't include me, right?
No, or me, or legends in their own mind in our industry. The reason you're going to bring the young people is because every industry is having a hard time attracting young people. So when you bring someone, and I don't want to hear that you can't afford it, because we make mistakes every day that equal more than the cost of that trip, whether you're adding the time or not. But you bring somebody younger to the event, they're going to hear and absorb everything that's going on. Me and you as owners, we only absorb 12% because we're just too busy and we know what we know or we don't know. They're going to go back and they're going to tell everybody everything that they learned and they saw. And on top of that, more importantly, they're going to feel empowered. They're going to feel like you've invested in them and that you know who they are and you are concerned about their future. Like, we need to step it up, because in our industry, we mentioned before, people aren't getting dirty anymore when they work. Our industry is almost a video game. From the pre-press, from the design to the pre-press, 40-inch presses have screens with scanners and cameras in it, and folders are push button, pre-set up stuff, and blah, blah, blah. We have a great industry.
Yeah. When people walk out to the Landa, I've heard a lot of Star Trek analogies, like, oh, this is the deck of the Enterprise. Like, yeah.
I was going to say, you're printing on an iPhone.
Yeah, it is a bit like that. It is impressive, right? You know, it does make it feel like, hey, we have a place to play in the future, right? Not just the past.
And with that installation, I mean, for your customers and everyone around, I mean, you just invested in cutting edge technology, right? Yeah.
I,
you got a
yeah,
good run ahead of you.
yeah, I'm going to tell you a story that I thought was pretty funny. I'll tell it quickly. So the whole front of our building is a mess. Like we had some wind damage, and it's just a disaster. And we've been trying to get it all rebuilt. And anyway, so we finally are in the process, kind of like working with the insurance company, and everything else. And finally, in the process of getting construction. So a really important customer of ours came a few weeks ago, and I started like into this apology about, oh, how ugly the front of the building is. Finally, we're going to start the construction, whatever. And they stopped me. And I love this that it was a customer that did this, stopped me and said, you know what, I actually, we kind of like it. I'm like, what? How do you like it? I was like, well, because like the front of the building's a mess, right? But you have this brand new state-of-the-art Landa printing press in the back, kind of thing. And I just thought, you know what, you're right. Like we know where to put our investment. It's not in the beauty of the front of the building. So I thought it was a lot of fun, and I thought it was awesome that it was a customer that actually like brought that to my attention. Well, that was pretty fun.
Yeah, listen. I think we all like nice things, right? We just have to remember in our place, where is it more important that we spend the money? So you can do up the front. Now I know people who've invested in their buildings only to lose them after.
Yeah.
Right. Because you start and and then all of a sudden it's 20% overrun and blah blah. So what have you invested in anything else other than the Landa recently?
I would say actually that most of the investment, that kind of whole profile sort of was changed through these last few years. So, we spent, in the last, 8 years or so, the investment has really been in the digital side of the business for the most part. Not entirely, but for the most part. And actually, that's not even true because we have a new Perfect Planner that's only, 4 years ago or so, 4 or 5 years at the most. So I mean, we do have some other equipment, but yeah, it mostly has been in building up the kind of the Indigo press room and now the Landa press room. And I would say all of the ancillary parts and pieces to that. So smart people, smart software, smart automation equipment, in order to feed all that, which is not to be dismissed for sure.
Oh my God, no, are you kidding? It's never ending. And do you see yourself ever replacing and putting in a new web offset?
I don't know. I'm not certain. I at this moment I don't see that, but right now I'm happy kind of with our breadth of things. We're running 2 web offset presses 24/7. I like that. We're a little bit unique in this geography. There's not a lot of other web presses around. We can, kind of have easy channels into the coast and, kind of throughout the Intermountain West. It's kind of a good footprint. I kind of like it. As long as like we can charge what it takes to produce those products, right? And that's not always been a given. That's been hard. So clearly our investments in the last little while, obviously, are more in the digital realm. We see. I guess I would explain it this way. I kind of have a really simple Venn diagram that has guided my decisions for the last decade, which is basically we're printers, right? That's our craft. That's our media. That's what we do. So take a circle and that's print. But now we have data, right? Data is the new kind of, playground here, and print now can play in that same space. So you intersect those 2 circles. And then the third circle for me that kind of creates the kind of trifecta in the Venn diagram is the digital world. And I don't mean digital print. I mean the digital world. I mean our phones. I mean, every way that we're interacting now. So you take those 3 together, and the center of that is exactly where we have placed investments for the last, 8-10 years.
Wow, so that's good. So the only other thing I'll touch on, you have all this new equipment, new technology. Talk to me about the HR and people. Are you are you having a tough time? People staying?
Of course. Yeah, we're all having enough time, and it turns out Utah's an incredible place to live. So like everybody wants to live here, including me. And so we have no unemployment here. There isn't, and I know that's widely true, around the world now. But here, there's no unemployment, and so we've had to be creative. We've made really good friends with the refugee coordinator of the state. We have, somebody from the Sudan. We have a couple of people from Afghan refugees that have been incredible. We've done a lot of work with halfway houses and other people who have a little history and kind of some second chance, and found some incredible people that way. That I can't imagine running this place without. And I guess I would also say that, we some positions that you would have required certain prerequisites for in the past, we've definitely invested in teaching those people, like, hey,
Right.
if you want to go to school, hey, if you want to learn this skill, I'll pay for your textbooks, I'll pay for your testing, I'll pay for, I'll give you flexibility in your schedule, so I would say we've been doing some of that kind of thing in order to try and find people. And we found some incredible people through all of those channels. So it's just unconventional in the way we used to do it.
I used to bring in one of the vocational schools that taught print like once or twice a year and tour all the students, and just to let them see what they were studying and, kind of get a first crack before they go anywhere else.
Yeah.
I used to speak at some of the universities and, just when I'm speaking to the students, talk to them about their parents and if anybody's interested, and always give out pizzazz stuff.
Yeah.
We used to have a couple people, a couple of Filipino ladies who were quite kind, and they would go to the church on Sunday and talk about us needing help. And because they were speaking and proud to where they were working, because we treated people like people, we would get people from all over.
They have
what I did find was a lot of the people that we hired that were first, second year immigrants or just coming on, they tend to work a little harder than the others because they're on a mission. They're on a mission to succeed, to make a life, and most of them are sending money home to their families.
Yeah, absolutely. They'll work 24 hours a day if you let them. No, we don't do it that way.
Right. But good to know that they're willing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I used to ask some of the locals, and they'd be like, it's it's happy hour at 5 o'clock. I'm like, okay, I understand.
Yeah,
but,
right.
Or when the guy would say, hey, check out my new truck, and I'd say, hey, good for you. You'll be putting in some overtime.
Yeah,
right. You always have
you have needs now.
Yeah. But one of the key things that we used to do is we used to cross train people on all the different equipment.
Yeah.
So that A, they feel valuable, and then B, if something got slow, there's only so many walls you could paint when you're quiet.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it benefits everybody. Yeah, for sure. I agree with that completely.
Cool. Awesome. So yeah, like I don't really have much more, because after Landa and all that stuff, that was great. but you know what? It's nice to hear. And it sounds like you really have a good handle on what you're doing. Always excites me when I talk to another print owner who is comfortable in their skin and knowing what's going on and making good decisions. So kudos to you. I hope to get out into your area one day, hopefully in the not too distant future, because I haven't seen a Landa press live yet. Would love to do that.
I would love that. That would be a lot of fun.
Okay, yeah. Then I'm gonna have to. That's the invitation. I'm gonna make.
You're invited. You're invited.
I'll make a time to come out and make a little. You have any fishing near you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we're better known for we have mountains all around us, right? So there are lakes and rivers. So sure, yeah. There's
as long as there's fishing, I have a reason.
Okay, all right.
So it's good. So
can't wait.
Yeah. So wow. Anything you want to add before we cut you off?
I don't think so. No, I appreciate it. It was really a lot of fun. I can tell we think about a lot of things in a similar way. So it makes for a fun conversation.
Putting the company and the industry on top.
Yeah,
that's what happens.
I agree. Let's do that together.
Awesome. So I thank you for your time. To everybody else, I'm hoping you made it to this point in the conversation and you've listened to it all. Give me any feedback, send me in anything that you have, questions, thoughts, be happy to answer them.